I'm glad you decided to give me another chance. And a question I thought I might want to answer for you is, why do I care about this? What the heck? I'm retired. Why am I doing this? Why am I putting this effort into it? Why am I taking my free time to do this? Why do I care? And that might help you understand where I'm coming from. I got into teaching in a very interesting way. I have a sister-in-law who's a teacher, awesome teacher. She's great, love her to death. And we were boogie boarding out at Seal Beach at a family beach day many years ago. And I was deciding, I need to go back to school. I'm working these dead-end jobs. What should I do? Blah, blah, blah. And she's like, oh, you should be a teacher. Oh, I'd be a terrible teacher. I couldn't do it. Oh, you'd be a great teacher. So whatever, I gave up. I said, okay, I'm going back to school to be a teacher. My first job ended up being a 50% job in a special day class. Well, gee, there you go. I need to start my special ed credential. I got a multiple subject credential, then I got my special ed credential. And when I finished that 50% job, it was temporary. I went on to I worked in a psych hospital for a while. Loved it. It was a great job. I worked with kids that were really having problems and issues at that time. Kids stayed in psych hospitals for long periods of time. Kids had never really had good experiences in school, and some of them were there because of what they did in school. Anyway, moved on from the boogie boarding, the psych hospital. I worked in a non-public school. At the non-public school, I, of course, worked with the students that were primarily labeled with emotional disturbance. Back then, we called it severe emotionally disturbance, SED. They've changed that to ED. ED is enough to give a kid. You don't need to put the S on there. Anyway, I had a student there one time, and so that's a hard job. Working with those kids is difficult every day, and I loved it. And I worked with the students and the families and the school districts, and it was extremely rewarding. And to me, the most important thing in dealing with special education and dealing with our students is the relationship between the teacher and the child. I have an interesting story that happened to me at the middle school, at the NPS. It was an elementary school class, and I had a student, little Sammy, and he tried my patience. He was kind of a difficult student, not in a way that you would think is difficult. He was very needy and just really tried my patience in many ways. And I was kind of venting after class one day with my aide. The kids were all gone. I never would do any of this venting with the kids around. And I said, oh boy, Sammy was really hard today. And the aide looked at me funny, and he said, wow, I thought Sammy was your favorite student. And I knew that Sammy was difficult for me. So what did I do? I made an extra effort to be kind, loving, and helpful to that child. He never knew, one way or another, how I felt about him, except he knew I cared about him. And he knew I loved him, and I wanted him to do well. And that's all that matters. That's what we're there for. That relationship can be damaged many times in many different ways. But it is the most critical relationship that we have in special education. How can we help that along? How can the process help that along? Well, for one thing, we can support the teachers. The teacher needs to be working on the goals. They need to be doing what they need to do. But all the arguments and all the difficulties needs to be outside of where the student is. The student and the teacher are core to the education. That is paramount. So if the student and the teacher are getting along and everything's good, and the student's going to make progress. The student will make progress regardless of what's written on the IEP, regardless if you signed your IEP, if you have an attorney or an advocate or whatever. All that aside, the student will make progress if the teacher and the student have a good relationship. Paramount key. Oh, did I say that enough times? I think I did. So what I'm imploring parents, Support your teachers. The teacher, on the other hand, you need to go into class every day loving, acting as if you love every student in your class. I don't care how bad they are. I don't care what they're doing wrong. You need to love those kids. And if you don't, if you can't, they need to never know that. I'm not buying, I can't do it. You can do it. You have to do it. And if you can't do it, you probably need to find another place to be in your world. There's plenty of places that need you. Absolutely. Special ed, we need special people. And it's, I am imploring people that care to stay in special ed, and I'm imploring families and attorneys and advocates to support your teachers, even if you don't agree with them 100%. There's no problem questioning the teacher, what's going on. You need to know those things. Absolutely. Got it. And that's my rant for today. I hope it's been helpful for you to see a little bit into who I am and where I'm coming from in my student-centered quest to get special ed back on track. First number one key is the teacher. So take care, everybody. Love your kids, love your students, and we'll see you next time.